Welcome back to another episode of the MacRumors Show. I'm Dan. We have Hartley here as usual. And what a week, Hartley. I have been gone for most of it, but catching up now has really got me kind of shocked that we have I don't remember the last time there's been a picture of a leaked phone in the wild, right? I mean, obviously the time back in the day where, the Gizmodo paid for finding the one that was left at a bar. And I'm sure it's happened since then, but I just can't recall the last time we've had something blow up like this online as it has over the last few days. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there is a picture of somebody, I'm assuming it's an Apple employee, holding what looks to be a iPhone 17. It could be a 17 Pro. I'm guessing it was a Pro because I think there was 3 cameras on the picture. But
yes, that's right.
The only reason, okay, thank you, Hartley. The only reason why we know or we think that it's a new one is because the flash and everything has been moved over to the right side like we're anticipating, and that's just not how it is now on the current models. Now, it's possible that this is a, I don't know, Android device, right? Could it be one of those? It could be something that we don't know, but I feel like that's pretty unlikely. Hartley, what do you think?
I mean, this is definitely the unreleased iPhone 17 Pro. There's pretty much no doubt. Right. It's also of note that the guy in the image is actually holding 2 iPhones. One of them seems to be an iPhone 16 Pro, and one seems to be a 17 Pro. So there seems to be some comparison going on there, which actually makes it even more convincing, because how many people have 2 different iPhones, one of which appears to be an unreleased model, in their hands at the same time? And also, there is an attempt at camouflaging the device. It's in some kind of case. It's in some kind of black covering that's designed to obscure the detail on that device. And it's actually that black covering that gives away what it is. Right. Because ordinarily, I mean, had this been a year ago, the differences between the iPhone 16 and 15 Pro are not significant. At a distance, you would not be able to tell the difference in size, or even most of the color options are the same. But in this instance, where that LiDAR scanner and flash move 1.5 inches across the device, right. This is exactly what we were expecting. And this is the time of year when Apple will be conducting its final tests, finalizing software for things like the camera ahead of launch.
So do you think this is something that would get this person in trouble? I'm going to guess no, because they were probably doing their job. But also, I don't know, were they supposed to be in a public place, so openly using it? Or are they supposed to be a little more discreet about it? I mean, I feel like that's not super fair for the person if they were just doing what they were supposed to be doing and assuming that they were allowed to take it out in public, which I'm guessing they are, considering that they have a case on it and stuff. But I kind of do wonder, because that person is very clearly visible in the photograph. So it's kind of hard to oh, it wasn't me, What do you think about that?
I mean, this is always a risk. There are always, every year, unreleased iPhone models in Apple employees' hands months before launch. And a lot of the time, those things are very well disguised in cases. And we largely wouldn't know unless you're a close friend or a family member of that employee, seeing them use that device and are pretty tuned in to Apple rumors. But the vast majority of the time, these people are going around and using Apple Pay in coffee shops and things, and no one really notices. But occasionally, like in this instance, it does get noticed, particularly when there is a very specific design change that can be picked up on.
Yeah, that person clearly who took a photo is very in tune with MacRumors, I'm guessing, because I don't know that 99% of the people out there would be like, oh yeah, I didn't realize that the LiDAR and the flash moved over. They would not have noticed that. Now, the camera bar, on the other hand, that would be noticeable, especially if it had an Apple logo and then this large camera bump. That would be significant. But obviously, this had a case or protective, covering over it to basically make that completely flush so you wouldn't even notice it. So really, we're just going off of those 2 elements that are moved. But yeah, I hope that person doesn't have any, because that stinks. That's not that person's fault, in my opinion, personally. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty significant. We're getting close. This isn't silly season anymore. We're 1 month away, basically, month and some change, from seeing the iPhone 17 Pro, Pro Max, and today's topics, the iPhone 17 and 17 Air. We're going to kind of split these two out, and maybe next week or in the coming weeks beforehand, we'll talk about the Pro and Pro Max again. But let's give the Air and the standard 17 some time here. What do you anticipate? We'll start with the 17. I don't think this is going to be a pretty big update, correct?
It's hard to say. I mean, really, the entry-level iPhone is always a fairly incremental update. I feel like probably the biggest upgrade that it's had in recent years was probably the iPhone 12. Moving to OLED, moving to those slim bezels, that squared-off design, and also the iPhone 12 mini. But largely since then, this device has remained the same. 2 cameras. It gets the chip from the mainline iPhone. And it is just an entry point for someone that doesn't need a Pro model. It looks like this year is not going to be all that different, with features trickling down from the previous year's Pro models, just like how the Dynamic Island was introduced on the iPhone 14 Pro, and then on the standard iPhone 15, it also came to those devices. This year, we're expecting those larger displays that were introduced on the Pro models last year to trickle down to the standard model. So this means, in the same way that we moved last year from a 6.1 to a 6.3 inch display on the iPhone 16 Pro, we're going to move from a 6.1 to a 6.3 inch display on the iPhone 17.
I think the biggest thing with the display also is that I keep forgetting we're also getting ProMotion, correct, across all iPhones this year.
Yeah, it looks like that's the case. And that is ostensibly something that's quite overdue. I feel like I've heard in iPhone reviews for years at this point. Every year it's, these are great phones, but the refresh rate, just like for years, the talking points were, it still has Lightning and not USB-C. So I think it's probably a tiny bit overdue at this point, but it's a good upgrade. I'm not sure that many people coming from an iPhone 16 will see much to be gained. But it isn't really for those people. People who buy an iPhone 17 are people that are going to be upgrading from an iPhone 13 or an iPhone 14, in which case the upgrades do stack up. You'll be coming to a device that has Dynamic Island, USB-C, a larger display, obviously a new selection of color options, and with that new chip, Apple Intelligence support and a lot more power, and not to mention camera capability as well now with that 48 megapixel main camera.
Let's talk about those new color options. Black, white, classic. Light blue, green, purple, and steel gray. That's an interesting one. Is that just a new name for a starlight gray? I don't even know. What is this supposed to be?
I imagine it will look a little bit like space gray, maybe a little bit darker. Space gray has kind of vanished from the iPhone lineup, and pretty much all of Apple's devices. Even I can't remember if it was earlier this year or last year, but Apple actually replaced in the middle of the year the space gray HomePod Mini with the midnight HomePod Mini, and actually made quite a big fanfare of releasing this midnight version when most people are not even going to be able to tell the difference between the gray version and the midnight version. Space gray, I feel, went out of fashion a little bit as people moved either to more timeless silver devices. That's certainly the direction that I've gone in. Or they've wanted a matte black device. And gray kind of got caught in the middle, especially space gray, because the finish was so different on different devices.
Space gray was basically Apple's black option for the longest time, right? So I don't really know. So steel gray has to be something that is more gray than it is black, because then what's the point of having black and steel gray?
I imagine it will be more like when Apple's offered graphite in recent years, a slightly darker gray. Certainly darker than the natural titanium color.
I was just going to say, they should make it more like this, maybe a little darker, but
I imagine that's what it will look like. And I think that will actually be really popular. I think that Apple's probably been quite surprised by the popularity of the natural titanium color. And
it's a good color.
I think that maybe it is time to bring back a dark gray, especially on a frosted glass iPhone. We haven't really seen that for quite a while, certainly not on the standard models. The standard models, I'm trying to think, the last time they came with a gray color option.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I mean, that must have been the iPhone 8 a long time ago.
But like the space gray, basically, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
There's never been a true gray.
Not on the
Because I just
standard
consider
models.
those black. Let's just be honest. But or like a light black. I don't know. I guess so.
It's tricky. I mean,
It's such a fine line.
I remember Space Gray was introduced with the iPhone 5S, and that looked pretty good. That was a pretty dark gray with these black accents. But when we moved up to the iPhone 6, there was barely any difference between the space gray iPhone 6 and the silver iPhone 6. On the front, of course, one had a white face and one had a black face. So that made the biggest difference. But if you just looked at them from the back, one looked like silver and one looked like a slightly darker shade of silver. And obviously Apple's processes for anodizing aluminium have improved over the years. But even looking at like when I see like, I don't know, an M1 or M2 MacBook Pro and I see it in space gray, I don't think it looks that great.
So I'm looking at them right now. I guess like the iPhone 5S was probably more gray, but when you moved into like the glass iPhone, like 10s, the 11, but actually looking at more like the 10s, that's definitely more black, especially since the side rails are more black too. Like, so yeah, it'll be, if it's going to be something gray, then I'm guessing it's going to be more in like the 5S. That I can see being steel gray, quote unquote. That's not where the true color options lie that are interesting, in my opinion. That's more with the Pro and Pro Max, but that's for another episode. Do you want to move on to what is more interesting with the iPhone 17?
What would that be?
What do you think? It's not the 17 itself.
Well, yeah, the iPhone 17 Air.
There you go.
And the thing that's been really interesting about the iPhone 17 Air, thinking about how rumors have kind of solidified around these devices in general over the last month or two, is the iPhone 17 Air is now looking like a very different kind of device in the lineup. We knew this. We knew it would be ultra thin. We knew it would use Apple's custom modem. We knew it would lose a speaker. We knew it wouldn't have a SIM card tray. This was all kind of known. Obviously, the single camera is a big departure. But now we have these rumors about the chip as well. So this is going to be the first time one of the standard iPhone models has had a Pro chip. And it will be a less powerful version of that chip. So this will be a binned A19 Pro with a 5-core GPU. The Pro models will have the 6-core GPU version of that, whereas the standard iPhone 17 will just have an A19 chip. So that puts the iPhone 17 Air right in the middle of the standard models and the Pro, which helps separate it out way better than the Plus does right now. Over the past 2 years, the Plus has only been separated by its display size and its battery. But Apple has obviously recognized that that isn't enough to drive sales. And so adding a more powerful chip is one of those areas. The other one that is really interesting is the amount of memory. So it looks like the iPhone 17 Air will also have more memory than the standard iPhone 17. It will have 12 gigabytes, which puts it on a level playing field with the Pro models. So you're kind of getting this Pro but not quite Pro device.
So, I mean, really, what's the only thing that doesn't make it Pro is the cameras from like a major standpoint, correct?
Pretty much. And losing that additional speaker, which I think will bother some people if you listen to a lot of audio with your iPhone. I actually do. I mean, it's not my go-to solution. I would always prefer to use some AirPods, but there definitely are situations every day when I'm using the iPhone speaker. I would not really like to lose 50% of the speakers on the device.
I would say mostly for videos.
Yeah, that's where it really makes a big difference. And likewise with the camera, but otherwise, this is a flattened out iPhone 17 Pro minus 2 cameras.
And a titanium frame, even though everything else is getting aluminum, which is very intriguing.
This is very Samsung, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Well, the latest Samsung Edge device, which is effectively the iPhone 17 Air's rival, has a titanium frame.
Yep.
And it's the only one to do that, correct?
No, the Ultra has a titanium frame.
But as in out of those two standard models.
Oh, yes.
And Apple's doing the same thing here, but it's actually going further. So it's not only positioning it as a direct rival to Samsung's offering, but it is repositioning titanium to be a unique material for this unique device. Apple is trying to situate this in a totally different place. So really, the way that the iPhone lineup has worked, at least for the main two iPhone models, is it's for two different groups of people, and the only options are display sizes. You can either go low or go high. And this is determined by price and how interested you are in consumer electronics, how interested you are in those extra cameras. But Apple is trying to offer this third option now with a totally different offering. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how popular this is. I think it will be really popular. I've been saying this for the whole of the past year. I can see a lot of people who would normally go for a Pro Max going for this.
I mean, I keep flip-flopping back and forth, like if this is going to be really popular or not. I don't think it's going to be like, oh, it did okay. I really think it's either going to be a complete bust or it's going to be really, really popular. And I just don't know where I settle. Right now, I'm definitely intrigued to use it as my main device. I'm going to do that to see how I can. Of course, this is the year that Apple throws out an orange iPhone, something I've wanted for forever. Now I'm going to have to put that away for a little bit while I test out the 17 Air, because that is kind of the more intriguing device, in my opinion. It's the first time we're going to get something like that from Apple, but how long will that novelty last?
My theory is actually that the opposite will happen. I think that the iPhone 17 Air will be more popular than the iPhone 17.
Yeah, I think so.
And right now, the iPhone 15 and 16 Plus account for about 5% of sales. It's very low. That's the same as what the mini models were before that. And most customers who are interested in those standard models go for the base model. The iPhone 16, the iPhone 15 before that. Those are the models of choice compared to a Plus model, because a lot of people think this other device is significantly bigger, quite a bit heavier, and it's $100 more, but I don't really get anything more premium for that. I get the same device, but just bigger. And that doesn't seem to be enough to persuade customers who are interested in buying an iPhone 16 to go up to a 16 Plus. I think that actually the opposite will happen now. I think a lot of people are going to think, well, this is only $100 difference. Why would I not go up to the Air? I'm getting a more premium design. I'm getting that camera bar that really looks quite different. I'm getting that much larger display, but it's also lighter and thinner. It definitely feels more sort of agile in pockets and in the hand. It's more powerful. It's got more memory. It will be more future-proof. And it's definitely got some unique selling points. Even the color options are different. $100, that seems like a pretty good deal. And I can see a lot of people that would normally go for those standard models saying, okay, maybe not now.
I think it's the lack of that other camera. That would be the only thing that would hold you back.
But how many people really use the ultra-wide camera who buy those standard models?
I'm not saying this anymore. Every time we say that, I get bombarded with emails and messages saying that they use the ultra-wide all the time and that we're out of touch. So
I mean, I use the ultra-wide increasingly because it's got so much better on the iPhone 16 Pro.
Yeah.
But I don't see a lot of standard iPhone users using that ultra-wide. And if people disagree with me about that in the comments, they're very welcome to. But that customer base just wants a cheap iPhone. That's why Apple has removed that camera from the Air, and it is also not present on the iPhone 16e, and it's not going to be present on the 17e. It removed the ultra-wide from the iPad Pro. This is not a key feature, and I think it is a matter of time before something happens with those standard models. What is happening with the iPhone 17 and 18 is really interesting because the iPhone 17 and 18 are moving closer to being the E model, and the Air is taking this other direction. And it's actually not in the too distant future now where we're expecting an iPhone 17e next spring.
Right.
And then an iPhone 18e alongside the standard iPhone 18. Apple is going to present the iPhone 18 and 18e together in the spring.
We're doubling it up?
Yeah. So it's actually splitting out the iPhone, the standard line iPhone, the base model, going forward from that year.
Timeline perspective, because it got me confused for a second there, but now I think I follow you. So the 26 year, spring 26, will be 17e. Spring 27 will be 18 and 18e, correct?
That's right. And that means that when we get to the fall of 26, there will be no iPhone 18. We will only be talking iPhone foldable. 18 Air, iPhone 18 Pro, Pro Max, and the foldable. So we will still just be talking 4 iPhone models. And this really indicates to me that Apple is pulling that standard iPhone down and really sees it as a higher end version of the E model, which really it is compared to the iPhone 17 Air. There's a lot of overlap between the 17 and 16e in the same way that there'll be a lot of overlap between the 17 and 17e. Really, the key differences are the dynamic island, a slightly larger display, the chip, although that will reach parity with the iPhone 17e.
I think I need to know from everybody that's listening. Let's just say it doesn't matter if you're going to update or not. Which phone would you pick? Would you pick a 17 or a 17 Air? It's going to be $100 cheaper to go 17, and you're going to get the extra camera. But in every other direction, the Air is more premium and has better specs. I'm curious, and keep in mind that both phones will have promotion. So I'm curious to see which one. I just feel like I said, it's either going to boom or bust. One of those two is going to do obviously better than the other. And I just don't think it's going to be very close. And I can't figure out if one's going to drive people down to the standard 17 or if the 17 is going to drive people up to the Air, or if both of those are going to drive everyone up to the Pro and Pro Max because they're like, I'm over it. Like, if you had to make a call right now, which one do you think it'll be?
I think absolutely the iPhone 17 Air is going to take the lead. And I can see that sales of the iPhone 17 will probably fall to in line with the 16e, a little bit higher than that. I certainly think that the days of a 5% iPhone in terms of the share of iPhone sales is probably going to be gone now. And I could foresee maybe by the time we get to the iPhone 19 lineup, if indeed it's called that, I don't think it will be, and we get to the iPhone lineup the year after that, I can see the E and the standard model merging into one, and the standard model potentially disappearing, so that we get an iPhone 20e, iPhone 20 Air, iPhone 20 Pro and Pro Max. Because this standard model, what is it really doing? What is it offering?
Ultra wide camera, man.
That's it.
That's the only thing I could think of, and a cheaper price point. But again, it's so hard. It's so hard to think this way because I haven't financed a phone in years, but that's pretty much what everybody does, right? Most people do. Again, I am out of touch when it comes to that, so you can feel free to just correct me politely in the comments. I'm just guessing that everyone walks into if you're in the US at least, you walk into a carrier and you just pick one and you just pay monthly through the carrier, because why should you need to pay the $800 out of pocket right then and there if you don't have to? You just pay the $20 a month or whatever it is and just move on. But so, $100 difference is going to be like a couple of dollars a month difference. So like, why? Yeah, I mean, it's so much easier in that realm to go up because the price difference seems so minuscule, even though it's going to be the exact same over time. One thing I do have a question on, there's 2 notes here for all the models. We're getting a redesigned dynamic island and 25-watt charging with third-party chargers thanks to Qi 2.2. So what was it before? Was it 15 or 17 and a half?
I'm actually not sure.
I think it's, hold on, iPhone wireless charging speeds. I think it's 17. It's 15. Okay, I was right the first time. 15 used to be 7.5. That was brutal. So now going up to 25, that's a pretty big jump.
Yeah, especially with third-party chargers.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's that's nice.
Yeah, that is a good upgrade, and it's because Apple's MagSafe is the basis of Qi 2.
Yeah.
So this will be shared across platforms. We can expect to see this on Android devices as well. And it's really building out this new Qi ecosystem, which I think is really good to see.
And what's the deal with the dynamic island thing? Is that just the smaller?
We don't know.
So.
We actually don't know almost anything about what is meant by this. This is one of the most mysterious rumors about the iPhone 17 lineup.
This is the one where there's like, oh, Apple's going to like lean into it more with more software stuff. But it's like, can't tell you what.
Hardware is really easy to leak because there's the whole supply chain. There's a lot of people with eyes on these devices in factories that are run by different companies on different continents. You've got case makers and accessory makers chasing the designs of these new devices. But you don't really get that with software. So the only way that software leaks is directly from Apple. And if the people who are working on the iPhone 17 software keep that under wraps, then it's not coming out. But we have heard just a few rumors from a few different places that Apple is looking at redesigning how the dynamic island works. I don't think visually it will have many changes in terms of the actual cutout in the display. But there seems to be something going on with it. We just don't know what it is yet.
I already think it's kind of questionable to take a picture of an employee testing out a new phone in public. Even if it's from the back, they should have blurred out the face at the very least, but even if it's from the back of the phone. But if you're going to do that already, you might as well have just gone around to over their shoulder and snapped a photo of the front so we can see what's going on with that dynamic island. And perhaps maybe there's some new software that we're not like, what else could they do? Add notifications up there and like,
I can't see them ever adding notifications.
I don't know what else there is to do besides just like more things popping out of it.
I think maybe more integrations. I wonder if it's got to be built off live activities, maybe better integration with app intents or more functionality in terms of gestures with it so that you can swipe on it and get access to different things or long press on it and get access to different things. Right now, you can do that to show and hide any live activities that are in there, but there's not actually a huge amount that it does when you actually touch it. So I wonder if it's going to be
cool
in that area.
That would be cool if there's nothing going on, but then you can like swipe and it brings over like media controls and you can just start jumping into things. And
it may also just be a visual overhaul. Liquid glass is changing a lot on the iPhone. I wonder if the whole look of the dynamic island, which is just a big black expanse, is actually going to change completely. It'll be interesting to see.
It does animate differently in iOS 26, which is interesting.
I feel like the animations for Dynamic Island have been toned down so much since its introduction on the iPhone 14 Pro. On the iPhone 14 Pro, Dynamic Island felt so playful. It really did feel dynamic. Every time you had any sort of interaction with it or swiped anything up to it, it really kind of popped and rippled and great animation. Some of Apple's best animations in years, I think. But I do have the sense that since then, gradually, it has just become a much more functional, basic thing, which is a shame.
Do you like the notifications that come in through it? It just kind of like squirts out now. I don't know. I don't really know how to describe what it did beforehand.
Well, before
nor do I even
dropped
remember.
Down, now
they just dropped like shoot out.
Yeah, I don't like that. I find it distracting personally, but
it's interesting. I don't mind it.
I mean, I will say that I think that I was a little bit harsh on Liquid Glass and the redesign initially.
This is perfect. I was going to ask you because we're coming to the end of our episode, so this will be a little mini review, Hartley's mini review.
But I actually think that it has got dramatically better. And as of the last beta, I think it is pretty breathtaking and works really, really well.
Breathtaking. That's a very interesting way to describe it. I will say that it is so much better than Beta 1, just like you kind of basically outlined. Beta 1 was unusable to the point where after 2 days, I had to go back to 18.5 because it was horrible. I mean, like the design, not the design, and like it just didn't work. And obviously it's a beta, so like you got to expect that. I just didn't expect it to be that bad. It was mostly just because it got so hot. Now, I mean, I've been using it, but the public beta basically. Well, beta 4, same thing. It's been perfectly fine. I really haven't noticed many bugs. There's been some weird things that have been an issue, but that's just more with like third-party apps and like very, very specific functions that just don't seem to be updated to work somehow with iOS 26. And that's just a guess of mine because I don't know how else, it's something that used to work beforehand. So that's the only thing I can pinpoint. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, you're right. I love the design. I like that they went back now to like, it's kind of in that beta 2 format with the liquid glass, the transparency and stuff. Like it was really high in 1, or was it 3? I don't know. Really high in 1, then they toned it down a lot in 3, right? Toned it down a little bit in 2.
Yeah, but it feels like Apple has reached a happy medium now. I like the fact that some elements are feeling a lot more frosted, but it doesn't lose its sense of feeling 3D in some way. It's still playful, but it's functional. I mean, there definitely is still a way to go. And I think that by the time we get to iOS 27, it will be a lot more polished. But I was really impressed with the last beta. It really felt like it had been a huge leap forward across most apps. There are still some things I don't necessarily like that much. Sometimes it's a little bit too... it feels a little bit too invasive, a little bit too watery almost. It doesn't feel like glass. But elsewhere, like I think the music app is the best example. It started off almost totally transparent. Then it became almost totally opaque. And now it has got this perfect sort of middle ground translucency.
Does auto mix work for you?
Yeah, I love it.
What you listen to? Okay.
I love it.
It doesn't do anything for me.
It depends on the songs. Like some songs of mine, it just won't do that because it doesn't detect any bass line in there that it can slow down or merge into another one. But if you have two songs that in my case, I'm pretty good at identifying which songs already have a fairly similar bass line. And sometimes the way that it will merge it is incredible. Yeah. Sometimes I have been listening to it and it has been unbelievable how it has separated the vocals and continued the vocals through into the next song and just merges it absolutely perfectly. I mean, sometimes it's a disaster, but when it makes you smile, it is amazing.
Sometimes most of the time it's just crossfade with a little more crossfade. But when it does work, you're right. It just does not work in a way that's breathtaking for me with the music that I listen to. I think I just need to move on to something else in order to see it really work.
It works better with a lot of like pop music,
dance,
like
a lot like
electronic and things that it's easy for the device to separate those channels.
Even when I'm trying to manufacture it, though, it doesn't. I think it's got to be like it knows, man. It knows somehow. It's like I know what you're trying to do, and I'm not going to do it for you. This needs to be a natural occurrence so that you can be impressed. Because I have tried to replicate some of the more like viral ones that have happened, and it doesn't work as well. Like 9 out of 10 times, it's just crossfade. And then that one time I can get it to work. But I feel like if you just like put on a playlist and let it go, it will hit and it'll be great. But it's just like, it's not as consistent. And again, it could be my device, could be a beta thing. I have no idea. But there have been moments out there. I suggest people go look at it.
It's largely using a different mix each time.
Yeah.
So
it's not the same. It's not going to know.
I've had it be largely identical with identical songs a couple of days apart, but over longer periods of time, it does seem to behave very differently because it's reanalyzing that song. But I love the feature. It's probably one of my favorite iOS 26 features. And it's a sort of thing that I can imagine a lot of people will hate it. Some people will really dislike the fact that sometimes it will jump you a minute into a song because it's worked out that is the best point to match things up, which personally I don't mind. Like I listen to my music, the same song, I will listen to it thousands of times. So I'm okay with skipping the beginning of it. But I think that for people like me that listen to a lot of music, when it works and it works well, it's just a delight to use.
Nice. Well, that's iOS 26. All you get in iOS 26 is liquid glass and auto mix, nothing else.
Yep.
So hope you're ready for that. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, would love to hear from everybody, obviously, about all of the stuff. Mostly just if you were to upgrade, or not even upgrade, but if you were to just buy one, you had to pick one, 17 or 17 Air, given all the things that we laid out about each device, which one would you go for? Let us know, comments, emails, all that. And yeah, we'll catch everybody in next week's episode.